it's been a long-standing tradition for CAHME to provide an annual update on our activities in the past year at the AUPHA annual meeting. We appreciate that AUPHA has continued this tradition, particularly during the virtual conference that we're in, and that you've also generously opened this up to all programs, whether they're AUPHA members or not. Again, I'm Anthony Stanowski. Welcome to today's CAHME update. You know, this past year has been an interesting year, and I think of this picture that a friend sent to me. Determination kind of comes to my mind when I see this. Imagine if you were that tiny sprig and you managed to emerge from the dirt and found the entire sky covered with an old cedar shingle. Would you have the resolve to find that one nail hole that would allow you to emerge through that darkness? So like this little sprig, CAHME found the nail hole in the shingle of the pandemic. It took a lot of work. It took a lot of work by our programs who worked through the accreditation process in a virtual world. And it took a lot of work by our site visitors who not only found the nail hole, and frankly, they created the nail hole. CAHME is a community of scholars, and there's no doubt that in this past year, the community rallied. Now, the interesting part, my friend who took this photo, Phil Gaum, who actually served on our benchmarking task force, said that after he took the photo, he carefully snapped the shingle. He allowed the sprig to grow and to flourish. What you're going to hear about today is how we're working to snap the shingle and reimagine the accreditation process post-pandemic. We have a great lineup of board members and those who really guide the direction of CAHME from a key governance role. Kurt Holman, our Senior Vice President of Managed Facilities at Avera McKennan Health System in Sioux Falls, South Dakota, and he's the incoming CAHME Board Chair. He's going to kick it off. Following Kurt is Steve Cisłowski, Professor and Graduate Health Administration Program Director at the University of Scranton, and he's the Chair of our Standards Council. Banky Olatosi will follow and take a look at what's happened in accreditation this past year. Banky is the MHA Program Director at the University of South Carolina. Following Banky, Cindy Hahn, recently retired Senior Vice President of Membership at ACHE and CAHME Board Chair in 2019-2020, will look at how we're going to recognize our fellows in this coming year. And ending the session will be Dolores Clement, Centera Professor Emerita at Virginia Commonwealth University, and she's just completing her board chair role this year. She's going to conclude with a discussion that looks back at the past year and challenges that we have for the future. So Kurt, you've been a great resource for CAHME this year, and we appreciate all of your support. Happy to have you kick off the welcome as your first official task as the 21-22 board chair. Kurt?
Well, thank you, Anthony. You know, as you alluded to in your photo there, the students of today are entering a rapidly changing workforce in the healthcare industry. And I recognize and appreciate the significant, innovative, and even disruptive changes that have been implemented in the academic setting. Today, we'll look at how CAHME has quickly pivoted due to these forces and will continue to make adjustments. At the highest level, the board is committed to two major goals: making the process of accreditation less burdensome and maintaining CAHME's rigorous standards and criteria as established by leading academics and practitioners. Looking at CAHME's mission, which is to advance the quality of healthcare management education, is at the heart of everything that we do. Since we're at the AUPHE annual meeting, I want to point out how our mission statement aligns with the AUPHA's mission, which is advancing higher education and scholarship in healthcare management and health policy. We greatly appreciate the support of AUPHA and the partnership with CEO Dan Gentry. The future is bright, and we look forward to working even more closely with you. We accomplish our mission by setting measurable criteria for excellent healthcare management education by supporting, assisting, and advising programs which seek to meet or exceed the criteria and continuously improve, by accrediting graduate programs that meet or exceed the criteria, and importantly, by making this information easily available to interested constituencies. Along with our mission, our values are integrity, excellence, transparency, fairness, and recognition. You'll see in our discussion today how this mission and these values permeate our initiatives. As a Senior Vice President at Avera Health, a faith-based health ministry, I ultimately work for a board of directors made up of 6 sisters from 2 Catholic orders. Therefore, I know what a mission-driven organization looks like in strategy and implementation. And that's why I'm proud and appreciate that the mission guides CAHME in service to its members, and I'm honored to be its chair. All of our initiatives are focused on providing value to our programs, our corporate members, and the students who attend and depend on CAHME accredited programs to advance their career. This year, we're also going to focus on how we can help our site visitors. You know, with COVID-19, we're all impacted by the pandemic. And in the CAHME world, our heroes of the pandemic were our site visitors. The board is so thankful to these individuals who uphold our standards in the accreditation process. CAHME's drive in recent months is to make a process of accreditation less burdensome. This involves investments in both human and technological resources. Our goals are the following. First, to improve the success rate of programs going through accreditation. We want programs to excel, to meet our standards. Through education and process improvement, we want to help programs reduce partial meets and do not meet ratings. Next is to be efficient. Let's get programs through the process without delays. Next is to improve our already high level of satisfaction. For programs, we will use satisfaction with the site visits as a surrogate metric for inter-rater reliability. And for site visitors, we will strive to improve their satisfaction with the experience. Lastly, we wish to fully leverage technology by integrating automation and harness technology to make the process smoother. We've secured a consultant to help CAHME accomplish these goals, and their work is just beginning. With this process, CAHME has already invested in new technologies to help improve the accreditation process. I'm excited to share with you what we are rolling out in fiscal year 2022. The first is an acronym called CARE, or CAHME Annual Report Editor. Steve will talk about this tool, which will help programs with submitting the required annual survey information. Second program acronym to talk about is CAMP, or CAHME Accreditation Management Portal. The board recognized that a big dissatisfier among programs and site visitors is the current e-accreditation system, which we are now branding as LAST, or the Legacy Accreditation System Tool. So everyone knows that this is the older platform. We will review CAMP's designs briefly, but before we do, let's discuss why the new platform was necessary. Well, it's all about form and function, about having newer technology, about creating efficiencies, which we believe will result in greater satisfaction. A task force of academics and practitioners were involved in the tool selection. After a pilot was implemented and feedback obtained, we move forward. We are selectively moving programs in the fall, and any new program is asked to go directly to the new platform, or CAMP. More to come on the training and implementation, but the tool is far more intuitive than the former tool. Before we go to Steve, I want to share with you an analogy. When we see highway improvements, often there's a sign that says temporary inconvenience, permanent improvement. The tools I touched on and the initiatives we are rolling out are not going to be perfect from the start. The world, as we've seen, just doesn't work that way. But we've got the board's commitment that while you may see some temporary inconvenience, we trust that long-term the improvements will be worth it. As Anthony mentioned, Steve Sadlowski has chaired our Standards Council for the past 2 years and will remain on the council as a member this year as James Lineberger begins his term as chair. Steve is a professor and graduate health administration program director at the University of Scranton. Steve, you're up.
Thanks, Kurt. And it's been a pleasure for the last 2 years to serve as the chair for the Standards Council. In the fall, the board approved the 2021 standards and a great accomplishment on behalf of all of our colleagues and peers involved in that process. There were minor revisions and they were presented to the field in the fall. The standards are on our website, on the CAHME website for review. The Standards Council examined the self-study guide and the annual report. So today we'll be reviewing how we eliminated questions that weren't clear or we felt weren't of value, and how we will create a consistency between the self-study guide and the annual report. An underlying goal is that the annual report data and self-study guide data will be the same. Again, to reinforce what Kurt just said, cut down on accreditation fatigue and make the process much easier. So the Standards Council made changes, as you can see here. For figure 4, we plan on eliminating the reporting of actual GRE GMAT scores. We will report only GPA and not the 25th and 75th percentile. On figure 10, we did 2 major changes. Figure 10 is about reporting positions held by program graduates. So 1, we dropped the requirement of reporting graduate positions for the past 3 years. The self-study guide and the survey are now for graduates of the survey year and at the time of the annual survey of graduates. Graduate positions for 3 years of graduates was found to be not highly accurate, troublesome for programs to gather, and not that useful for reviewers. Programs may supplement the annual survey of students with use of LinkedIn and other sources for reporting the data to aid in figure 10 to have it complete. And let me reinforce, this is positions currently held by graduates. So all programs will complete this, including executive programs. Number 2, we updated the position descriptions or positions by type on figure 10 to reflect the current environment. Note that each graduate can be placed in only one box and their highest and most appropriate level. So we want to make the self-study guide and the annual report consistent. That was a major goal for us. And while we would like to eliminate reporting data on both, we're not quite there yet. The Standards Council will take this up under Jim's leadership in the fall. The annual report will be part of the accreditation review of programs, whether they are applying in candidacy, adding a modality, or being reaccredited. Again, we are now requiring all applicants in all programs seeking to add an additional modality to have completed the annual report for at least 2 years worth of data. We believe that this will make programs that are proceeding to accreditation status more robust, and also to enable reviewers to have data to base their determinations on programs proceeding. So let me switch to the annual survey of graduates. This is a survey all programs need to do for graduates of the program. The survey is nothing new. This is something that has been in context for all programs. The Standards Council now provides guidance on timing. So programs may survey graduating students after the fiscal year ending June 30th. The timing of the survey is from July 1 through September 13th. And this is what we really felt provided ample time for the compilation of survey results to be reported in the CAHME annual survey, which is typically due in November. So while the CAHME standards always required surveying graduates on their satisfaction, we did not define what that satisfaction would look like, nor did we ask the programs to report it. So again, the Standards Council is providing guidance and consistency. We are providing the guidance based on the best practice research that the council reviewed, and it was quite extensive. And we did this after a literature review and in consultation with several programs through the Self-Study Guide Committee, Standards Council, Accreditation Council, and ultimately the board. CAHME is adding 3 questions to the required annual survey of students. Question 1 is around whether graduates would recommend the programs to their friends or acquaintances to advance their careers in healthcare. And this question is used to create a standardized Net Promoter Score. So you could see the wording for question 2 and question 3 here. Question 2, how satisfied are you with your program? And you can see the scale here. And question 3, all things being equal, if you had to do this all over again, would you choose to go to your program? Programs are required to standardize questions based on CAHME recommended wording. Now we understand that some programs may need time to transition these questions. Proposed deviation from the standard requires review and approval from CAHME management. And we know that there will be a phase-in period for this reporting, and we hope that most programs can make this happen. Management will review and advise programs that are having logistical issues. So the Standards Council also expressed concerns about the response rates and completeness of questions on the annual report. One critical question is also one with the highest non-response rate, graduating student income. And I know this has been a challenge for many programs. While this chart takes a little bit to understand, it compares the number of programs reporting, and this is on the y-axis on the left, with the response rate, that is the percent of graduates who responded. And then we graph the income line. So you can see that 16 programs had 100% of graduate reporting, and the income was $70,430,000 among these programs. But if you look to the left of this bar chart, 12 programs did not report any graduate income, and 7 programs had a response rate of less than 20%. Very interesting. Income in this group was at the highest. So so the Standards Council felt concerned that lower response programs had higher income. So that raised several issues for us, and so this didn't look correct. So what did we do? So for now, the Standards Council changed the qualifiers on the question. Some program directors said that their graduates were working, so they don't have a starting salary. And there was a difficulty in gathering data 3 months after graduation when students graduate at different times. So we made the question simple. What is the salary at the time of the survey, regardless of when the student graduated? To repeat it, it is their current salary at the time of the survey. And the descriptors 3-month post-graduation and starting will be removed when referring to the salary. We expect the response rate from executive programs to increase. The Standards Council, the Accreditation Council, and the board will look at the response rates after this year's survey, and will decide next steps based on the responses received. Yeah, so look, the annual survey conducted in the fall is a critical part of being an accreditor. It is how CAHME ensures that programs are meeting requirements in the years between surveys. CAHME is also responsible and required by CHIA, modeled after the U.S. Department of Education, to share program data publicly. So the data gathered in the annual report process is published in the search tool, accessible through the homepage and our search tool shown at the bottom. In the past 2 years, CAHME gathered through SurveyMonkey, moving the cumbersome and expensive liaison approach. To simplify more this year, CAHME developed an online tool for self-reporting and editing of data on the annual report. We named the tool CARE, short for CAHME Annual Report Editor. This tool will show you historical responses for comparison to aid and entry of current data. You'll be able to enter data for the most recent year and can edit previous year data. As Kurt cautioned, this is a new tool, so please be patient as we work with you to create a better process. The CAHME team will be conducting a webinar on the use of this in the summer. So let me just introduce Banky, a colleague and friend who has chaired CAHME Accreditation Council the past 2 years and is also a CAHME board member.
The first thing we will talk about is the growth that CAHME has experienced over the past fiscal year. As challenging as it has been, CAHME remains growing, vibrant organization, and we're excited that a lot more programs have found value in being CAHME accredited. The number of accredited programs has increased by 14 to end the year currently at 129. But that's not the whole story, because over the past 5 years, CAHME has grown by over 53% in the number of fully accredited programs that we have. In addition, we've created a new service line, and we now have the healthcare quality and safety. And this service line now has a total of 9 programs that are certified, and that certification is actually an important pathway to their future accreditation. We are on track to have the first healthcare quality and safety accreditation site visits in the fall of 2021. In addition, we've also been doing process improvements of the websites. And now if you go search for all CAHME accredited programs, you can do that on the CAHME.org/advanced 2.5 portion of the website. And we're keeping a track on the number of views that occur on this over the year, and it's ranging in the thousands. So we are moving forward in terms of what we're doing. But we always have to go back and look at this performance from a program improvement perspective, since this is what we expect of our program. This slide shows us a survey of our program directors in terms of what they think about CAHME, their ratings of CAHME, and how they perceive CAHME. Overall, 100% of our program directors rated CAHME as very good or good, and we are seeing the proportions of the very good increasing since last year. I want to keep up that projection. We also looked at an important question as part of that surveys was asking program directors whether they would pursue accreditation again. And again, the results are very encouraging from here, with the majority of our program directors indicating that they would. Now, just to make a point here, the only program director that indicated no was actually not due to anything CAHME had done or perception of CAHME, but because as an organization, strategically, they were making a different move and change to go else in another direction or modality. Well, we also wanted to benchmark ourselves, since we asked that of our programs, to other industries to see how we are doing. So we used the standardized Net Promoter Score to examine how CAHME was faring. This allowed us to compare ourselves against the educational industry, healthcare, and other industries. And on average, higher education had a Net Promoter Score of 51. Healthcare has an average of 38. Consulting typically leads the pack of industries with a 61 score. We looked at the SurveyMonkey global benchmark, which is 32, and our CAHME Net Promoter Score is 78. While that is good, that really is not the end of the story for us. So we dug a little bit deeper to see what was going on and where we had opportunities for improvement. So we surveyed our site visitors. Now, I just want to say a real appreciation to our site visitors, some of whom are peers with you in our field, some of whom are academics, some of whom are practitioners. Without the site visitors, CAHME could not achieve its mission. So we wanted to ask them, what do they think about this? Are they overall happy with their experience during the site visits? And we did find there was some level of dissatisfaction, and we are concerned about the level of dissatisfaction that we noticed. And so we wanted to dig deeper and see what was really going on. So we looked at the text, and we are not surprised as you read this text, comments from the text, to see that a major issue we had was the move to virtual site visits. Kurt touched on how the real heroes of the pandemic for all CAHME were our site visitors. They picked up the job and did it, even though it was very hard, it was tough, it was complicated. The amount of time and efforts that they put in is incredible, and they've been trailblazers in this regards. Prior to the pandemic, we had actually been planning on piloting virtual site visits in a thoughtful and limited fashion, wanted to study, revise, have a process. But due to the pandemic, we had to move very quickly to virtual site visits. If we didn't, we would now have a backlog of more than 55 site visits on top of those were already planned to show up in the future. We would also fail to meet our mission. We would not have served our public, our programs, nor our students. So we know the pandemic changed our approach, but it was our site visitors who took the brunt of this change. They went in and they made it happen, and for that, we're really grateful. We also looked at other comments related to the future for scheduling future virtual visits. And we did find a reluctance to participate among some of our site visitors. We saw the comments to the site visitor were similar to what we had looked at in terms of the site visitor satisfaction survey that we had gotten previously. We are paying attention to that. But I want to bring it back, right, that most program directors overall were happy with their site visit experience. They also expressed some level of dissatisfaction, right? Again, most overall happy with the experience. We had higher levels of dissatisfaction in 2021 when all the site visits were virtual. And so you can see on the graph on the left that for fiscal year 2021, majority of program directors overall felt it was good, but that was at a 5-point scale, Likert scale. In the other chart on the right, we had to narrow it down because it was only virtual site visits that were accounted for the accreditation process. So the question for the 2021 data was accounted for, would you do a site visit again? So the question was a little bit narrower in this regards, but what we found was telling. About half of program directors indicated they would do virtual visits again, 36% said maybe, and notice only about 7% said absolutely not. We also saw more delays in scheduling site visits in fiscal year 2021. This was kind of strange, but this is not a typical occurrence. We had a higher occurrence of site visit delays this year. Looking at everything in context, taking everything together, satisfaction data from program directors and site visitors and the data we're looking at right now, we know there has to be changes. We have to. We've all faced the same similar challenges when we transition from in-person to online classroom as educators because of COVID-19. And just like programs are adapting, we are also adapting, and CAHME will also need to adapt going forward. So we're going to learn from this response. We're going to find a way to move forward. We're also in the process of CAHME's initiative, where we're looking at reimagining the accreditation site visits as a whole. And Kurt talked about that earlier, and this is just giving you a backdrop into all the data that's been considered as that process moves along. So we will make improvements. We all across the nation and the world, things have changed, COVID have changed things, and we will change. There will be things that we change, but we're going to look for better processes moving forward in terms of doing what CAHME is supposed to do. So again, we want to thank the field. We want to especially thank our site visitors who volunteer for this process as we all work together to make the field better and to improve the training of future healthcare leaders from our programs. Thank you.
Well, thanks to Banky for that, that review of our accreditation process. Next is Cindy Hahn, who was the board chair in 2019-2020, and she led a task force on focusing on recognizing CAHME's fellows. Cindy is going to outline the approach moving forward. Cindy?
All right, thank you, Anthony. Well, as Banky mentioned, CAHME is really dependent on the fellows who volunteer for our site visits. And we wanted to find out a way to recognize the fellows for their time and dedication and their expertise. And so the task force was based on the CAHME strategic plan, where it asked us to come up with a recognition program. So I'll go in just a few minutes into that. But there's several advantages of this. A recognition program was developed to recognize the contributions of fellows for their growth and development. And for academic fellows, we feel that the recognition may help them as they grow in their academic career. And then for the practitioners, it's a badge reflecting their commitment to the industry. And it can also help if they want to transition to academic life. Finally, for CAHME, it continues to reinforce the growth path for fellows and provides educational materials and support. And this should help with improving the inter-rater reliability of the fellows. So let's go into a little more detail here. There's two parts of the program. There's initial eligibility requirements and then ongoing requirements. So to enter the program, a person would complete the CLC, which is the education program part of it. They'd visit as a site visitor, and they would also be approved by the Accreditation Council, pre-approved before they would even start the program. There are also a number of ongoing eligibility requirements, and we'll talk about this in the next screen. On the right side, you see the criteria, and the criteria is based on lifetime site visits, but also it's based on how recent that experience has been. So what we did is we looked at anybody who has participated within the last 4 years would enter the program as we've designed it. There's also a satisfaction part, and that satisfaction is based on the scores of the programs. And as I mentioned, each person would have to do the CLC educational courses at the beginning of each part. Each time they're selected to be a fellow. Just a note on the process too. Anthony mentioned there was a task force, and that task force was made up of academics, association executives, and the CEO of the Baldrige program. So it was a team experienced in member and reviewer recognition. And the task force, along with staff, came up with these recommendations, but then we also ran them by a focus group of experienced fellows and honed those recommendations. So as I mentioned, the right side is the criteria. On the left side is, as of right now, is how many fellows would meet the different levels. So as somebody enters the program, they start out as an applicant, and if they've done site visits, they'd be an applicant. So there's 60 in that. 50 or 58 would currently be at the fellow level. And then moving along, there's 12 that would be currently certified fellows, and then 13 at the highest level, which is master fellows. So you can see it is it's a linear process, and the more experience and the more site visits that somebody has done, the higher they move into the program, and represented by master fellows at the very bottom, which is really the top. Key here is part of it is the satisfaction. The satisfaction is just a proxy for inter-rater reliability, and that's what we're using now. But also to complete the CLC courses, we feel really increases that inter-rater inter-rater reliability as well. So if we go to the next slide, we created a badging program, and the badging program on the left side, you see there's some examples from HFMA, but the badge would reflect the level that the person is in the fellow program. So whether it's a master fellow, certified, and so on. And the badges are digital badges. We're using the vendor called Accreditation, which is a big name in the field of digital badging to help manage the program. And the badges can be used on LinkedIn after a person's name. It can be used as on their signature block, other digital areas, but it also be kept on the CAMP area of the CAHME website. So examiners will be recognized publicly there, but also it's a way of recognizing the examiners for themselves when they're using their own correspondence or on their LinkedIn and so on. So it really makes the fellow program much more public, I feel, as a way of recognizing the fellows. This shows the implementation timeline, and the key here is that in September, the first class will go to the Accreditation Council to be approved, and then in October, the website will be built out to list the fellows. There'll also be some webinars that will show the fellows how they can use the digital badging, and so they'll not only be informed of where they are in the process, but then how to use those digital badges. So we really feel that this is something that is going to help hopefully retain fellows, but really give them some of that recognition that we realize that they need because of all the time and their expertise. Just getting them through the program, we feel that this is something that's really going to be a plus for everybody involved. And with that, let me introduce Dolores. Dolores Clement, as most of you know, is past board chairman and is emeritus professor with Virginia Commonwealth University. So Dolores.
Thanks, Cindy. First of all, I want to say how pleased I was to be able to serve as board chair this past year. It's been a hard year, but a great year, as many who preceded me in this presentation have already alluded to. There was a lot of work done setting the groundwork for what's coming with Kurt and all. So I want to start out with a big acknowledgement not only of CAHME's board members, but also the Accreditation Council, our Standards Council, the Global Advisory Council, Healthcare Quality and Safety Council, our Blue Ribbon panels for our awards programs, and the many committees and task forces that we have each year. It's estimated that each year approximately 250 volunteers help CAHME either through committee work or as site visitors, and many of you are on this call right now. So I see there's at least 100 participants on this call. If you want to see the leadership of CAHME board leadership, you can go to www.cahme.org. I also want to take this time to thank our corporate members. Joining AUPHA on that top line are two other corporate members that have been with CAHME for 53 years, ACHE and AHA, as well as AUPHA. That's a considerable amount of time. Second line, Cedars-Sinai, MGMA, and the Blue Cross Blue Shield Association are also longtime corporate members. Then down below, NAHQ, NAHQ joined CAHME in fiscal year 2020, and we're proud to welcome the Studer Community Institute in fiscal 2021. HFMA recently rejoined corporate members in June. So they had gone away, but they've come back to us, and we're looking forward to a number of others that we're trying to prod back into our community as well. So, and hopefully stay tuned for that, because Kurt will probably have announcements as we go forward. For the 6th annual, I'm going to talk about a few of the other accomplishments for this year as well. Recognizing the benefits to be gained through cooperative agreements. As the largest business education allowance Alliance, the Association to Advance Collegiate Schools of Business, AACSB, is arguably the best known accreditor of business schools and certainly the oldest, starting in 1916. AACSB serves over 1,600 member organizations and accredits 800 business schools worldwide. We've gone into this cooperative agreement this past year, and AACSB's mission is to foster engagement, accelerate innovation, and amplify its impact on business education. They're truly global, as they have offices based in Tampa, Florida, the US, Amsterdam, the Netherlands, and Singapore. CAHME sees our partnership with AACSB as not just a sharing of resources, but in working with and eliminating accreditation fatigue when programs can do joint accreditations together. We'll look at ways that we can assist each other with synergies that might mean joint visits, expanding healthcare management accreditation in additional markets, and joint promotion. We'll also work together to jumpstart some of our global initiatives. So this really helps with that global effort that we've undertaken as well. In this past year, for the 6th annual CAHME Awards this year, we offered 5 scholarship opportunities. 1 for programs only and 4 were available to students. All student applications were required to be submitted by their program directors, so it's a considerable effort of the programs as well. There were 37 applicants from 19 university programs, or more than 20% of CAHME accredited programs, that submitted at least 1 application for a CAHME Award. 24 industry and academic thought leaders served as blue ribbon panelists and evaluated the applications. I want to take a moment to congratulate our winners this year as well. CAHME Canon Solutions America Award recipient this year was the University of Washington MHA program. The CAHME Don Gideon Foundation Scholarship winner was Priyanka Santhapuram from Johns Hopkins University. Sorry if I mispronounced the name. Hopefully I did okay. CAHME Tim Campbell Scholarship winners are Haley Kirby from the University of South Carolina and Jennifer Rachel from Suffolk University. The CAHME Judy Bear Topinka winner is Megan Hart from Johns Hopkins University. And the CAHME Pristine Home Care Essay Contest winners were Jessica Osays from the University of Missouri and Mohammed Alzeen from the University of Incarnate Word. The awards were featured in 2 full-page ads, the inside cover and the back cover in Modern Healthcare, and at CAHME's virtual booth at the ACHE Congress. And this slide includes just some of the promotional ways that award winners are promoted. The CAHME Awards program helps promote our value proposition by highlighting best practices and is consistent with our mission of advancing the quality of healthcare management education. Similar to other accreditors and reviewers of organizations and programs like Baldrige, these awards are important for promoting the quality that these acknowledged programs put forward it's a great acknowledgement for those programs. And we've shared them across a lot of the different programs over the years. For the fiscal year 2022 award to be given in March 2022, look for the application process opening up this September. The Herzlinger Foundation has committed to fund an innovation award next year, and more will come about that later. If you have questions about how to apply for the award, contact Dana Alexander, CAHME Communications and Engagement Manager at dalexander@cahme.org. And her email is there on the slide. It's available as well. The Core Learning Center that we've mentioned earlier in this presentation was born out of COVID-19 and transformed CAHME's well-regarded boot camp into a completely online experience, eliminating travel expenses, expanding access to content, and providing participants with the ability to review materials based on their availability. The content includes CAHME accreditation education sessions, site visitor modules, and expert practices areas. The content is structured to improve program leaders' understanding of CAHME, the CAHME criteria, and includes industry-defining standards, best practices from leading programs, and descriptions of the accreditation process. The goal is to improve program quality and help programs be better prepared to meet CAHME standards. As of earlier this month, June 11th, the CLC had a total of 2,374 views. That's more than 30 programs that were subscribed to help them prepare for accreditation, and the site visitors have access to a breadth of educational materials. As you see on the slide, Melissa Cross is our education manager, doing a fantastic job in coordinating all of this traffic on our website, as well as coordinating the Core Learning Center. So again, you can contact Melissa at any time. It's important for our staff to be recognized, as well as all of our volunteers, because they're doing an incredible job. The CAHME Mentorship Circle was created by the CAHME Board to further CAHME's mission of enhancing the quality of healthcare management education. The CMC designation recognizes CAHME accredited programs that demonstrate a commitment to excellence, not only to their own programs, but across the broader field of healthcare management education. Its designation is an honor and a responsibility, because they're helping to raise all the boats that are out there, if you will. The CMC programs provide mentorship to other programs and perform a significant activity. The activities have included best practice case studies, involvement in international program accreditation, senior faculty mentoring junior faculty at other programs, and holding student case competitions. Programs propose the activity to the CMC committee for review. You can review existing CMC programs and their activities noted here on the screen at the CAHME website /CMC. Eligibility is limited to CAHME accredited programs who received a 7-year re-accreditation on their site visit, and 27 programs are designated by the CMC now. The CMC programs are noted on CAHME's new advanced search tool 2.5 and receive a distinct CMC logo for their website. So their website will acknowledge that as well. Again, Dana Alexander is the person to contact here. Again, acknowledging another one of our staff personnel, because she's the one coordinating and doing a lot of the work involved there, as well as controlling the screen and working to make sure that this program is going forward without too many glitches, and coordinating all of us. So again, thank you, Dana, and all of the staff. Further, our global initiatives, which Kurt alluded to at the beginning, bringing us back again to things that we've done this year. We designed a short survey on the impact of COVID-19 on healthcare management education that formed a basis of a webinar series and a future white paper. We partnered with AUPHA, the European Health Management Association, and the International Hospital Federation to try to get a global view of the impact of the pandemic on programs and education. So our global initiatives were held up a little bit this year, but there's still a lot of interest out there, and we are going forward with them. The 4 webinars were planned that feature survey responses, including IHF, EHMA, AUPHA, and Peregrine Global Services. First one was held on May 26th, and we had about 150 registrants. The CAHME IHF webinar was on June 14th, and we had over 100 registrants. EHMA and IHF webinars recordings are available at CAHME.org for those of you who are interested and weren't able to participate in those seminars. The CAHME AUPHA session will be held on July 29th at 10:30 a.m. EDT. Eastern time. So that's kind of a foreshadowing, if you will, for that session. And the CAHME Peregrine Global Services session will be on September 30th of this year. So going forward, we're trying to include all of these for all of your benefit. So what you saw today from our board members and presenters was how CAHME has succeeded in providing accreditation services to meet our mission of advancing the quality of healthcare management education. And like that little sprig that Anthony brought up at the beginning, CAHME, our programs, our site visitors, our volunteers prevailed. COVID-19 did not stop us in the least. We kept going and we tried to adapt as we went along all the way through. We partnered with new industry leaders. We grew our newest service line, healthcare quality and safety. We're working to minimize accreditation fatigue. We're trying to adapt processes from what we learned during the pandemic. We were transparent in what we showed today. There was good and some that we're still working on and have work to do on. We revised our criteria and standards to try to ensure relevancy. We increased transparency of outcome and performance of our programs through an innovative search tool. We created a subscription-based learning center to ensure our programs are better prepared for the accreditation process. And most importantly, we listened to you, the program directors, to know where we need to go next. And we will continue to do so as we move forward. Like that little sprig going through the plank, CAHME, our programs and our site visitors are looking forward to coming out of COVID-19 a stronger, better organization with processes hardened through what we learned during COVID-19. You, the programs and the volunteers, broke that plank apart, and it will enable CAHME to grow, all to meet our mission of advancing the quality of healthcare management education along with AUPHA. So at this point in time, we have had a few questions in the chat room and probably more have been added. So we would like to take this time to answer some of those questions.
Dolores, one question came up was about the joint site visits and the process with AACSB. Has CAHME ever considered doing something with CEF? And we have. We've had discussions with CEF ranging back from as far as 5 years ago. Eric Brichto did a joint site visit. Went as an observer on a site visit with CEF to Harvard, and CEF actually sat as an observer on a site visit from with CAHME as well. We had some discussions and we went along pretty quickly on those. CEF was very interested in doing this with CAHME, and likewise CAHME was very interested in doing this along with CEF. We started to talk to some programs that were CEF accredited and also CAHME accredited and said, hey, would you like to volunteer to be part of a joint visit? And we received no takers. With the business school part, we received many takers from our programs to do that. So if you're with a program that is CEF accredited and CAHME accredited and want to do a joint site visit together, please reach out to me, reach out to Eric Brichto. We'll be happy to kind of move along in that process with you. And we agree. I see several comments. That would be a great time savings, and it has with the business school part. And we would, again, we would really like to do that with you.
That was noted by Cheryl how we tried to do this in the 1990s, and Leah, you're going through it right now. Please help with trying to coordinate it with us. It would be great.
There was a lot of questions about salary data. Salary data has been a standard required element that's been asked of CAHME on the annual reports for probably 15 years. It's also a standard data requirement from the US Department of Education, and SHIA also requires it of programs that we ask, accreditors ask programs about it. CAHME does recognize that there are issues in gathering and collecting data. What we find interesting is that if you look at it, most programs are able to gather a good response rate from their students to get it. The fact that there are 12 programs that receive no student information on salary is one that we really want to focus on, and how do we get it improved. We realize that there are issues around cost of living around the country, but those issues are a little more complex than asking just about specific program. It's about where the specific student is, and we don't want the enemy of the good to be the perfect. We think gathering information on income from students is just, again, meeting with common practice for other accreditors out there, and has full support of the board. And again, it's been gathered for 15 years. Are there any other questions on the chat?
The one was whether or not it could be, whether or not we divide between the executive programs and the regular programs. And even though the averages include both, they can be separated out and viewed separately, because there is a big difference sometimes when you've got physicians and all in those programs.
Yes, and the detail for the programs are actually on our website, on our advanced search tool, where you can look at executive programs and what the salary is versus residential versus those who have fellowships and residencies too. So we do have the ability to break it down. The graph you saw did not break that down. Again, wasn't the point of the graph. And you want to talk in more detail, please call me, send me an email, and I'll schedule some time and talk through with you. It's been an amazing process and great leadership from the board, great direction from CAHME, and I think the market is responding well to what we're doing, but we want to get better, and appreciate all of your help and input in making that happen.
Perfect. With that, Anthony, Kurt, Dolores, Cindy, Stephen, and Dana, I wanted to thank you very much, and thank you everyone for attending. And I look forward to seeing you all sometime in the future. Thank you.